This is The Righteous View with your hosts, Avia Bayes, Deborah Hoskins, and Christina McCormick.
Make sure we live. I know they said we live.
It says we're live.
Okay.
And now somebody's phone is ringing.
One
Ah,
knocking me out. I don't know where I'm at.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Righteous View. I am Avia Byers, our weekly podcast. We have been having focusing on topics regarding women of all ages. Our mission, as always, is to foster righteous, open dialogue on topics that have been considered taboo within our social communities. We want to cultivate open and healthy discussions between mothers and daughters, husbands and wives, mature women and young women. Our goal is to educate and provide factual information to those demographics concerning our biological, physiological, and spiritual existence. So I'm introducing tonight my beautiful co-host, Christina McCormick and Deborah Hoskins. Hopefully joining us shortly will be Patricia Douglas, but she may not be able to come on, but we're going to just patch her in once she shows up.
Yes. We want to encourage you to tune in weekly every Thursday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here for a thought-provoking topics that will hopefully stimulate conversations that are sometimes hard and uncomfortable.
Yes, we are live on Facebook at the Hebraic Awakening and the Righteous View. If you missed the podcast, you can view it and past podcasts on our YouTube channel at the Righteous View. If you enjoyed the topics and the discussions have helped you in any way, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification button. All right.
Yes.
There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and jump in. You know, we have been going through this series on So You Say You Want to Get Married, and we're at the final topic, which we're going to talk about tonight, and it's just going to be an open dialogue. So we're going to ask anyone who is watching, open up your chat and come on and chat along with us concerning this. That your opinions really help and really matter. We like to have different opinions concerning our these topics that we are bringing up. So tonight we're going to talk about, after we've done all of this, we had questions and answer conversations. We've talked about our future likes, dislikes. We've really delved into each other's past and looking at the person concerning their outward appearance, their inward appearance, what that looks like, what a marriage life would look like, to them. And you've had all these conversations, and now you're looking at each other and saying, this could be the one. I think this is the one. So you, I guess at this point, possibly get hopefully a proposal. And if now you have accepted the proposal, now you're saying making wedding plans in my mind. Now this is a big thing for me, because I had, and I don't know about my guest, my host or co-host, but I did have like the formal wedding where we were engaged for a year, preparation for that year, and then got married. The white dress, walked down the aisle, bridesmaids, bridegroom, groomsmen, reception, limousine. Well, we didn't have a limousine, but anyway, we had a really nice car. But But the whole real formal. I had a real formal wedding. So the questions, things that can come out, I can, I guess, talk about from that standpoint.
Hmm. You want us to go? Or you
So
think?
I guess, yeah. Yeah, I guess we can say what type of wedding we had. So we can talk about those points
Mhm.
because people in our audience may be on one side,
Yeah.
of the spectrum, you
Yep.
know.
Yep. Yeah. My first question, if you're thinking about it, is do you want a big wedding or do
Big
you want
one.
really, really, really small?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had a formal wedding, but it was small. But
Mm-hmm.
now that I'm looking back, I wish it was smaller. I do. I wish it was smaller because I know that, we come from a culture that, and I'm talking about our ancestors over on the continent. We come from a culture that is really big on celebrations, and
Mm-hmm.
I would like that. However, living in America, specifically North America, it's I don't know. It can be stressful. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and
Absolutely.
sometimes you don't even enjoy the ceremony by the time you get there because in America we are very individualistic when we are living and trying to get the bridesmaids, especially the
Mm-hmm.
bridesmaids and the groomsmen and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You got people jealous. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just saying, I
Woo.
wish ours was a little more intimate. So
Okay.
that's something that you need to think about while you're thinking about it in your head.
Yeah, I agree with that because my wedding was large. We invited, I think we sent out over 200 invitations. And we got probably about I don't remember. That was such a blur coming down that aisle. It was such a blur by the time everything was over. Because you're right, that's something that you really have to stop and think about. It was very stressful. I don't think I became a bridezilla. I don't think so, but my brothers may tell you something different. Because by that morning, I was yelling at them. They
Yep.
were out there washing the cars. I'm sitting there fully clothed. I mean, crown, I mean, bridal illusion, veil on, sitting on the couch, waiting for them to finish washing the cars. I'm like, why didn't y'all do this earlier this morning? Well,
Mm.
we were getting haircuts and stuff. My other brothers walking around in their shorts and t-shirts, like hanging out. I'm like, can somebody be a little excited about this?
Right.
Is like my big day, and I'm already an hour late. My husband was in the back room of the church with my brother-in-law, and he told me, he said, I was afraid that you weren't gonna come. So it was. I had bridesmaids, a bridesmaid that did not show up because I found out that there was a jealousy issue that
Yep.
she did not tell me about, and that she was really hoping that she would be my husband's wife. Oh wow.
Right.
After we came back,
Oh,
yeah, it was like a whole, yeah,
Dang.
a whole,
wow.
a whole Netflix movie. Um,
Wow.
it was yeah, he
Dang.
was my husband was supposed to, because they were both coming from the Salisbury area, so he was supposed to pick her up first. My first cue or red flag with her should have been that she didn't show up for and the rehearsal stuff.
Yep.
She didn't, but she
Wow.
said she was gonna be working. So I said, okay. So she didn't show up for that. And then I thought, well, you can catch a ride with James into Winston, come to the house. He can drop you off because I was at the beauty salon. So he can drop you off at the house, and my mother would have finished fitting her dress and all of that. My mother was at the sewing machine up until the time that she was getting ready to walk out the door. After she got
Wow.
everybody done, everybody fitted, because I had bridesmaids that came, my cousins from New York, and they came. It was just very, I remember taking a picture for the Winston-Salem Journal, and I was so tired. It was after
Right.
work and dealing with colors, and it was a rainbow wedding. I had all of this stuff in my mind that it's like, ugh. It ended up, oh no, I don't want to wear that color. That doesn't look good on me. I don't want to wear. Can I wear the blue? Can I wear the? Can I? Why didn't you ask me to be the maid of honor? What? I mean, oh, all of that. It was just a nightmare. And then having to have people in your wedding that you didn't want to have in there because they was connected to your brother.
Yeah.
It was like I don't even really like her like that. You know what I'm saying? But it was kind of it that part was stressful. So that's really true. You have to really decide if you're in for the long haul, because literally we were engaged a year, and literally it took that long to plan out that
Wow.
wedding, that where we invited about 200 people. Um, and we took the time to go to different areas to see family members, to invite them in person, because some family members were very close. So I didn't want to tell them on the phone or in a letter or just send an invitation. So we had literally got in the car,
Wow.
my
Wow.
mother, myself, and my husband got in the car and drove up to
Wow.
New York to visit with family
Wow.
members, to tell them face to face, we are getting married, blah blah blah. It was a lot though. The cake not turning out like it was supposed to. I mean, it was just, those are the things. The food was wonderful because we had, praise Father, I had my mother had best friends in the church that we were going to that took care of all of the food. So I didn't have to worry about, and they gave it to us, me and my husband, as a wedding gift. And
Okay.
they said, we don't want you to pay for anything concerning the food. We're going to do it. So they did all of the food. And so that was great, but it's a lot, and it's a lot of headache picking out flowers, picking out arrangements,
Yeah.
and all of that. So you do need to take time if you're going to have a full out wedding. Now you have a wedding planner who can help you do all
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
And what I would suggest, if you have a wedding planner, let her do her job.
Yep. Yep.
And because you got enough on your plate with just trying to get yourself prepped and ready
Hmm.
to walk down that aisle, be a bride, and then be a wife.
Right.
So let her do it. Let her do it, and let her bring the draft to you, and then you approve the final draft and move on. But let her do it. It's really easy, y'all, to turn into a bridezilla,
Yeah.
and let prophets.
Yeah. Yeah. I know they're gonna be like, this child, she don't remember no anniversary. And I was 3 hours late to my own wedding. Like, nah. Y'all know how my husband is. They said he had started eating. It was like, she ain't gonna
Oh
show up.
my
I don't
goodness.
know. I was so frustrated. I was still getting my
Oh,
hair done and all the girls' hair. And I was just
oh.
so frustrated. Then by the
Oh,
time I got there, I had the nerve to say, and I ain't getting married until the I know we call it a hoopah in Hebrew, but you know the little
yeah,
art.
yes.
I listen. I was serious. I was like, that has to be up. Now I know why I was so
Wow.
adamant
You
about
were
that.
adamant.
About
Yes.
that. And I
Yes.
wasn't going to get married until it was up.
I was adamant. We had an umbrella. So the umbrella was a huge white umbrella that someone
Yeah.
made. It was beautiful. Was supposed to hang from the ceiling, but the church we were got married in, it had 50-foot ceilings. Was it 50 or 100? No, it was 50.
Wow.
I mean, and nobody could get up there. They were like,
Wow.
Other cutter, we'd like to put that umbrella up there, but I don't know who's gonna get up there to put it up there. So one of my husband's friends from work was there, and he was dressed so nice in a black tux and everything. And they asked him if he would go and hold the
Oh my
umbrella
Oh,
for us.
wow.
And he so
God.
graciously went and held that umbrella for us. But he was dressed really nice. It was like he came. That's one of those things where it was a heavenly
Yeah.
hookup, Father Yahweh hookup.
Yeah.
That the gentleman was dressed so nice, and he went right up and held that umbrella. But all of this stuff was going on in the background I didn't know about. And I said I was an hour late, but I think I was 2 hours late.
See?
I
Yeah.
think I was two
Yeah.
hours late because it was an hour when I was sitting on the couch and yelling at my brothers about getting dressed. And they were still outside washing the cars. And
I don't know why people make it so difficult on your day, your
and
special
then girlfriend
day.
didn't show up. Wow.
Oh, dang. Oh,
Was
wow.
she just a bridesmaid? She wasn't like any.
No, she was a bridesmaid. And when we got back from the honeymoon, she came over to me at church and she approached me. Now listen, this is a young lady, we had known each other from the time we were like 12.
Mhm.
And but what I found is that as I was looking through some information concerning the dynamics and how families, whenever the family dynamic changes, is always real issues. So when there's a death in the family and when there's a marriage, the
Yeah.
family dynamic has changed. With the death, you've lost a person. With a marriage, you've gained a person. So
True.
that's why you have those same kinds of emotions that come up because the family dynamic has changed.
True.
And what happened with her, she was kind of angry because she thought that she had a chance at my husband. And I thought that she reacted a little strange when I told her that we had gotten engaged and showed her my ring. Now, my best friend, who is still my best friend to this day, Lynn, when I told her, showed her the ring, she was screaming. I was like, shh, shh, shh. We were in the middle of the church parking lot. People were looking around. What's wrong? What's wrong? She is screaming her head off and just hugging me and just going crazy. And this young lady did the opposite.
Mm.
She just looked at me and was like, "What?
Wow.
No, no, you're not." And I thought she was kidding. And I said, "Yeah, yes, we are." I said, "Here's the ring." I said, "I want you to be one of my bridesmaids." And she was like, "No, you're not. No, you're not." Kidding
Wow.
me. Just like it was just strange.
Yeah.
That was a red flag, but I didn't know that it was the level that it was. So when we got back from our honeymoon, she approached me about either getting her dress or for me reimbursing her for the dress and shoes. And I said, I'm not going to reimburse you because, chick, you didn't show up to my wedding. You know, you are
Man.
not, it's good that you're not getting a right fist of fellowship right now. You know what I'm saying? And I'll be the one to give it to you because I ain't never been ashamed to fight. So, nowhere, no. So she pretty much asked for her money back. And so I said, I'll give you the dress and the shoes. And her mother immediately comes over and says, I don't know why you invited her to be your bridesmaid. And y'all are not friends.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I remember saying, well, I'm sorry because I thought we were. And I remember looking at her, turning to her. She was mad at her mother because I guess her mother was revealing something
Yeah.
that I didn't know. I was not aware of. I mean, it completely blindsided me. And I turned to her and I said, I'm sorry. I didn't know that we weren't friends. I thought that we were. And that's why I asked you. I said, but I will bring you your dress and your shoes. The next time I see you, I'll have them for you. I said, but I'm not making a special trip because you didn't show up for my wedding. And you should have been big girl enough, woman enough to say to me, I don't want to accept
Right.
the invitation to be in your wedding. Just
Exactly.
be truthful. But anyway, I gave her stuff back. She was very embarrassed. And we went on. Years later, we were able to talk after she was getting married. And she said that she was very sorry for all of that that had occurred. But that when the dynamics change within, even within relationship, friendship, from going from being
Yeah.
single with your girls
Yep.
and now you're the one getting married, that can really change
Yeah.
things.
That's
But
true. That's
but
true.
Prophetess Deborah, I'd love to. We want to hear about you now. How was
Oh,
your?
mine's
Your
is nothing. I think I was just enjoying listening to you both because I didn't have any of that, none at all. Actually, I guess you would call it somewhat eloping.
Okay.
oh,
We actually got married at the Justice of the Peace right there in Brooklyn.
Mhm.
Um, just so happened, we had been dating a while, and then we hadn't because I kind of felt a time as even though he was coming sometimes to service and stuff like that, I didn't feel we were really equally, yoked in
okay,
essence.
okay.
And so I kind of put things, but the relationship that he had with Sherrod, because he did a lot,
Mm-hmm.
Sherrod was going to the daycare, and I really, and not that I didn't love him, I did,
Right.
but I just wanted to, how would I say, that if this is what y'all, and I really didn't hear that, Ruah, giving like feeling like this to go ahead. But in essence, um, David, he had came, because he had been married before, and he had filed, for divorce and and everything. And actually, when it just finalized, actually, and I
Mm-hmm.
still wasn't, but he was like, oh, "We're getting married." That's all he said. We're getting married,
Go
and
ahead, Ella David.
Right.
I don't
He's like,
know.
you my woman.
Right.
Yeah, he was like, it was like, but also there were other dynamics in the not only just Sherrod, and like I said, I did love him, but also I had lost my mom, you know, um,
Mm-hmm.
almost like 2 years prior, and though the Most High gave me peace in a sense, but still on that day that she passed, it was somewhat always somber to me
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
because I do
Mm-hmm.
remember the day that she passed, and um my
Yeah.
sister and my sister-in-law were there, and they called me and they hollered at, even to this day when I think about it, it just and so this on the day, when he came, this was the day, on the same day, it was January 13th, it was the day my mom had passed 2 years ago. Was it 2 years? 2 years, yeah.
Oh.
It's 2 years, or maybe just a year. Might have
Oh.
been a year. But anyway, um, he said, well, let's make this day a happy day, in essence. I mean, this is how spontaneous it was.
Wow.
He says, because he had said it beforehand, and I said, and then, I was thinking, and don't get me wrong, he would have been going to service and everything, but he wasn't like fully committed or anything, in that aspect.
Mhm.
But anyway, he
Uh,
was like, well, let's make this day a happy day. And anyway, that same day too, his daughter, because it's around the Martin Luther King's birthday thing, we went
Okay.
to my stepdaughter went to her play. She had a play, a thing at the school, and we went, and his sister went. My oldest sister was with us. She went with us to this play. Maisha had the this play or a musical thing at her school. And
Mhm.
when we left there, and I think he had told Maisha, he says that he was going to marry me, and she was fine with that. And we went to the justice of the peace. And
Wow.
no, that was the day before, because when we did go to the justice of the peace to get the marriage license,
Mhm.
gotta wait 24 hours.
oh,
Can't get the
Okay.
same day.
Okay.
That's what it was. I think her
Okay.
thing was the next day. We did go. It was just him and I that day. I think it was. If I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember everything. And they said
Mhm.
you had to wait 24 hours. And so he says, we're coming back tomorrow and we're going to do this and everything. And that's when we did go to the program. So we did know we were going to get married that day. And his
Oh.
sister came to her program because it was in the morning at her school. And
Mhm.
my sister, my oldest living sister, she went because we had said we were going to get married. I didn't tell anybody else in my family, only my sister, and he told his sister and our children, and Sherrod was was young, and
Was
Maisha
young.
was in school. So we wanted our children to know, and they gave their blessings, well, Sherrod was like, that was, he just loved him, and
yeah.
by
Yeah.
gave the approval, So then from there we went downtown Brooklyn, and we got married. We got married then that day, and then we went out to eat. We went to a restaurant there in Brooklyn downtown,
Mhm.
um on Court Street, somewhere in that area. Anyway, we went
Oh.
and we ate. And then that evening I had choir rehearsal at the
Did you go?
choir
You
rehearsal.
went to
Yes,
choir rehearsal.
I did. I went to choir rehearsal that evening. Yes, I did. We
I
got
feel like
married that
choir.
day. I went to choir rehearsal that evening. Sure did. And at choir rehearsal, um, I think I had mentioned that I had just gotten married. And I felt really, and so I remember Sister Bryant, she started crying because she was like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Oh,
Because they really love me. And then my brother, Jonathan's father, who was our pastor,
Mhm.
our company.
Mhm.
And he was so, because he loved David. He called him and he said, because that my brother did like home improvement, and him and David have worked together, and stuff. In fact,
Okay.
he called David, he says he's the oldest, and he was young. David wasn't even 40 years old. He says, you're the youngest, oldest person.
yeah.
He
The
said,
youngest,
I
oldest
can see
person.
that.
youngest, oldest,
Yeah.
saying that the oldest, youngest person, something like that. He said. But anyway, my brother really was really hurt. He
Yeah.
was like, oh man, he says, I would have married y'all. I would have given you
Yeah.
the wedding, and
Oh.
everybody was saying they would give me this, the wedding wine, and this and that. And I felt really bad, then I felt bad. But then they congratulated me, and I said, well, we'll do something later. We never really did, and we're still planning. Like David was just saying, recently, he says we gotta, we're
Yeah.
we're gonna have a wedding. We still, here it is 30 something. We're
Right.
talking about having really a
Okay.
wedding.
Okay.
You
So
can still do it.
Right.
yeah, we're planning. We're gonna
Okay.
do our
Okay.
vows and actually have a wedding. And we're gonna
Oh,
start the
that
wedding process. Y'all say the same. We're still here. We
Yeah.
really
yeah.
plan because I did always want that. But I thank y'all because one thing I can say, my husband knew that it would bring me joy, to know that it is something, a happy occasion
On
Yeah.
that
happened
thing.
during this time that I wouldn't dwell on my mom. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Look at the
You're
difference,
right.
in the three of us.
Right,
You
right. I
know,
thought about that. Yes.
and that's the thing, and that's the beauty of choice.
That's right.
That you it's your choice.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Whether you want to have a small and intimate something, a wedding with just people who you love, or you want to have something spontaneous where you just go, look, let's just don't even think about it, let's
Yeah.
just go down here and let's just do it. And or if you want to, who don't on that bridezilla cap and do that whole woo
Yeah.
woo y'all. I
Yeah.
can If I could show y'all the picture, I had that picture. I think it's still out there in the Winston-Salem Journal archives
Wow, that's
about
wonderful.
our wedding announcement.
Yes.
And mommy said, Vita, the photographer is here for Winston Journal. I had just gotten off work. I had been doing all this running around. We're trying to find, it was just everything. And I remember sitting down and putting on that dress, putting that crown and stuff on my head, and I looked like this.
Oh,
And my mother, I will never forget when that picture hit the newsstand. My mother was like, "Oh, my poor baby." She was so tired. She was so tired, and I
Yeah.
was so tired, and it was really like
oh,
a couple of weeks out. I think they announced it like 2 weeks out or something like that. Put it in the newspaper. And I was just beat. I was exhausted. I said, I don't care who wears what. I really don't care. And then they got to a place where they were like, well, I don't want to walk down with him. I was like, you
Oh my.
gonna walk down with who I tell you gonna
I
walk
mean,
down with.
for real.
If you don't go down with him, guess what? Stay your hind parts at home.
I
And
mean,
I,
for
I
real.
can guarantee you I didn't say hind parts. Stay at home, because I was like, man, I was just through. I was so through. And because I was working every day too,
Yeah.
on
yeah.
top of it. And my mother was making my wedding gown, and she was making it to resemble her wedding gown, of which
Oh,
we looked for, but my brother, by mistake, put her barrel, the wedding dress. Oh, my mother said she paid
what?
$2,000 for that wedding dress, and they got married in 50
Wow. That
53.
was a lot for that. Yeah,
Wow.
that's a lot of money.
Telling you, because she worked at a bridal shop. So she said what she did, she just paid on it over time.
Wow.
$2,000. That would
You
be
know that
probably about 150,000 today.
Wow.
today.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely easily.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that dress was absolutely gorgeous. So my mother bought the lace from Paris. I remember when the lace came
Wow.
in and had it shipped in, she had a certain type of fabric she wanted to use so that it would look a certain way. My mother is, and she still has that. I mean, is just an expert tailor, a seamstress, whatever you want to call it. This she made and tried made that dress look like her dress, but we didn't know.
Wow.
My brother had put it out, didn't know it was in the barrel. They cleaned
Wow.
out the utility room, and he put the barrel, all of the stuff out from the utility room down on the curb, and didn't know
What?
that my mother's wedding dress was in that barrel.
Wow. Wow.
So when we came and announced we were getting married, my mother
Oh my gosh.
hurriedly goes downstairs. Oh, where's my dress? Where's my dress? And it was like,
Mm.
where's my dress? And
Oh,
my brother was like,
wow.
what was it in? And she said what it was in, and he said, oh, I put it out with this. When we cleaned out the utility room, I put it out on the side of the road. So if somebody looked in there, they got a really nice
I
wedding
mean,
dress.
for real.
For real, right?
I hope they didn't put it in that trash
Right.
dump.
Right.
That they did take it home, and some wonderful young lady got it. It was
Yeah.
meant for her, but it was such a time. But that it doesn't matter. I think when you think about it, choose what you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Choose the day that you want, and
True.
let
That's
that be your day.
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, you
Because
know,
it just be too stressful. I know after the wedding, me and my husband went right to our little hotel room with the jacuzzi and all the stuff and went straight to sleep. There was nothing going on that night.
I can only imagine.
Knocked out, cold. I think I had on my dress. He had on his tux.
His tux, sleeping. Well, I cannot say the same because everything was planned, and my husband was looking for a hotel. He's like, let's just stop on the way. Okay. Let's just stop on the way. Okay.
Yeah, because even though I went to choir rehearsal, it still was, as they say, on the
We was rolling and popping.
It was one about look. And oh,
man.
Father, because I know we were on our way. We spent our honeymoon in Atlanta.
Oh,
So
okay.
we went to Atlanta for a week and got the opportunity to see his uncle and some people who we knew here or in Atlanta. But we had a really great time. But I'm telling you, we were kind of tired too. I was really glad
Yeah.
that was over.
Yeah.
I was really glad that was
Yeah.
over because it was very stressful, just dealing with people
Yeah.
and doing this, doing that, what you shouldn't do, what you should do.
Mm.
And my mother was big on etiquette, wedding etiquette, because she was big on that. My grandmother and my mother's family were they were people had a little status, so
Right.
and money,
Right.
so they were big on how things look,
Yeah.
how you did things and stuff like that. My grandmother had already passed away, but boy, my mother, she passed it down really well to my mother, because my mother and father had a wedding of about 300 people.
Wow.
And all those people were not invited to the reception, but they were all at the wedding. It was humongous,
Yeah.
huge. She had like 12 bridesmaids and
Wow.
12 groomsmen. Now I only had eight, but or six, something like that. I have five brothers, so it was I think about six groomsmen, and then six bridesmaids. But my mother's wedding was huge, so you can imagine the kind of pressure. No, you can't do that, because I'd be like, Mama,
Right.
let's just not do that. Let's. She said, no, 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 no. We're gonna do this right. We're gonna do it properly. I'm not going to have anyone saying that my daughter was not married.
And you were the first one to get married,
And
right?
I was the first.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh
I was the
yeah.
So
oldest girl. So
it had to be a statement.
Yep.
it had to be a statement. And she made that statement too. I'm telling you, people were talking about that wedding. They
Wow.
were like, ooh, look, y'all look like the Kennedys. Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all don't know
Wow.
that. Can we can we have a little bit of their money? But no.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to talk about too. You know, like
That
I
was money.
yeah, and I've been a part of people's wedding that had just as many, but they were dirt poor. And I'm like, what
Why?
you gonna do after
Why?
the wedding when you was poor before the wedding and y'all
Why?
put all that and then after the wedding you was still poor. I
Why?
I don't understand that.
I don't
I
understand
Or in
that
don't get
so
it.
either.
much debt that,
Yeah.
you
You
know,
know, and when you don't have the money, when you have the money now, James and I were paying for everything other than uh my the food,
Right.
like I said, but everything else we paid for everything. We paid the ministers and everybody who had to assist and whatever.
right.
We did again because both of us were working, full-time jobs. So we really paid for everything. And then my husband on top of it, he was paying for furniture, for us to
And that's
you know
something else
Yeah.
you got
get
to
an
think about
Yeah.
where we're
apartment.
gonna live.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we had to, and then my mother was like, no, come stay with us. Just stay with us. And that was good. She
Wow.
just cried about that. And my mother went through a serious thing. We truly were best friends. My mother was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do without you being here.
Oh,
So she was like, I mean, really, even at my wedding, there's a picture of my mother, and she's standing there, and she just looks so sad. She
Oh.
looks, I said, look at mommy. I'm like, Mom, you're supposed to be happy. This is a happy day. And she's like, I'm losing my only help. And I was like, well, okay, now you make me feel terrible. But so we did end up, so that's another thing. Where do you decide to make a decision on where you're going to live?
Right.
So we had decided we were going to get an apartment. James bought all the furniture. After my mother put us through the guilt trip, we decided to go ahead and take one of the rooms in the house because there was my room that was going to be empty. So take my room in the house, and then James put the furniture stuff, had the man keep it in storage and hold on to it, except for the bedroom set. But so we used that bedroom set, moved the other stuff out, and used that our bedroom set for our bedroom. And then we stayed with them for a short time. It was very short because my dad, on the other hand, my mother wants to keep everybody close to her.
Yeah.
But my dad, on the other hand, is like, okay, one down, three down, four down. Then he's like, okay, that's another one. That's another mouth we don't have to feed. Because
Right.
it's 10 of us. So
Right.
I can't blame the man. I'm like, yeah, bye, you go. Yeah, you go. That's another one. Going to college. Bye, you going to. So he was pretty much like that. So when we decided to stay, I remember when we were married, maybe about 3 months or something. Um, we went down to Carowinds for an evening with some friends.
Mhm.
And my father always had a midnight rule that you are in the house before
Right.
midnight, right? So I'm thinking, yeah, we're grown. I's married now, you know. I'm literally saying I's married now, you know. And we came in the house, it was like 12. And I remember my dad standing at the top of the stairs and looking at us. And so I looked back at him and he said, Why y'all coming up in my house after it's midnight?
Wow.
And I said, well, we were at Carowinds. He said, I really don't care where you were. He said, but nobody, you don't come in the house. And I said, my dad, we're married. He said, I don't care. This is my house, and you don't come in my house after 12 o'clock. Girl, 2 weeks later, let me tell you, that Monday, I was on, I was in the newspaper because we didn't have internet at that time. I
Yeah.
was in the newspaper, and I had two other friends at work. Okay, we need to find me and my
Right.
husband an apartment. Those girls was on it. They was like, I just called so and so Crestwood apartment, and they said they have an apartment for y'all. I mean, I was calling people. I was like, yeah, we getting ready to get up out of there. I said, because my daddy is tripping. So I think like about 2 or 3 weeks later, we were moving out and moving into an apartment. And I remember my mom saying, don't listen to him. Don't listen to your father. You, you can stay. You can stay as long as you want. And by that time, I was pregnant because 2 months out the gate, I
Right.
was fertile myrtle. Fertile myrtle. I was pregnant. That's another thing you got to think about.
Right. Yep.
Whether you want to have children right away
Yep. Yep.
or if I was dumb as dirt. I was so stupid. I mean, I just didn't think that it would happen that fast. It's like,
Right. Yeah.
why would anybody get pregnant that fast? I mean, it's 2 months. I haven't even had a chance to be married good. And now I'm pregnant 2 months. I'm
Man.
telling you.
Man.
And but we got our apartment, moved out, moved in, and my mother was there every single morning.
Dang. I hope I'll be like,
Hello, good
dang, mama.
morning.
Woo.
But I
Oh,
love my mama. I'm telling you, we still have a relationship like that right now. Good morning. I mean, and when Calvin was born, and the baby came 9 months later, she was right there every morning saying hello to her grandbaby. I'm
wow.
telling you, she was really, but she really missed and wanted us to be there. And she was very upset with my father.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She
Wow.
was very upset with him. But that's one of the things. So are you going to you're living uh where you gonna live?
Yeah.
You know,
That's right. That's true.
decision on because I mean, even when if you do it like Deborah and Elder David, you still have to have a place because you guys were a little
Yeah,
older
we had our separate. We just decided, are you going to move
with
my
him.
place or
Yeah.
the other? And we decided into my, I had an apartment at the time. So
Mm.
yeah, we moved in. He moved into my, apartment.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Okay.
And we were
Yeah.
So
there.
that's
Yeah,
important to
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah. Because my husband, I told y'all that story before, but my husband, listen, he from Omaha, Nebraska. So wow, who?
Who was from
No.
Omaha?
And that's what I was
Oh,
like. I was like,
Our
not
brother
him.
Robert.
He is from Omaha. But with him, I learned that black people moved for the railroad, and we forget about that part of history, not just of
I'm
yes,
Omaha.
telling
that's
you.
so true. Yes.
Yes.
So I learned a lot from him and his family. They had oil rights. They were like your
Wow.
well-to-do, but he hated Indiana. And I'm like, well, the Lord didn't tell me to move yet. I'm married now with a whole husband. I'm like, the Lord didn't say
With a
to
whole
tell me that
husband.
to move. My husband's like, you better take that up with the Lord because I'm moving. And and because even though he's from Omaha, he liked the South. Like he had lived in Arkansas for a really long time. So
Mhm.
we ended up in North Carolina, but that's another thing. Do your husband or your spouse want to live in the state, where y'all met or whatever? And how
Mhm.
does that look? Are you going to be ready
Mhm.
to
Right.
move? Because I'm really glad he put that in me because I've always wanted to move, but That's what I'm talking about. We're not sure about our own decision because I
Right.
wanted to move. I had
Right.
moved to Florida, tried to live in Florida, and then came back to Indiana.
Mhm.
And but because I wasn't sure of myself, I blamed it on the Most High. You
Uh,
know what I'm saying? Like I'm a hide because I can't make decisions for myself
for yourself.
because I failed in Florida. And
Okay.
Florida is a spot that me and my husband still considering now that all our kids are grown. So that's another thing. Where
Mhm.
do you want to like end up? Because when you first
Yes.
start out, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But where do you want to end
Where
up?
do you want to end up?
Yeah.
That's a good one. That
Yeah, true.
definitely is
That
an
is very,
important.
yeah, yeah.
Because we never talked about where we would, end up. But one thing we moved. So when we got married, my husband decided that we would live in Winston-Salem. So we considered living in Salisbury, where his family was from, and he worked for Cannon Mills in Salisbury. So he had a really good job, worked third shift. And they had small houses that they would rent or even sell, I think, to employees. And so we considered doing that, and then he decided he didn't want to live in Salisbury, small town. Salisbury was really small,
Yeah.
at that time, really, really small at that time, and decided we were going to live in Winston Salem, and so that's where we ended up. But eventually moved to New York, and then to Washington, and then back to Winston Salem, North Carolina, after the children were uh, born, and Calvin, started college. We moved back to North Carolina. But that is a really important
Yeah.
uh, discussion,
It is.
um,
It is.
because if he has a position somewhere in another state and you have a position there, then you have to decide, okay, which is going to be better,
That's
Hmm.
right.
for our family. And
That's
it doesn't always look like what people may think.
Yep.
And it
that's
doesn't always mean that the female, you as a bride, have to move to where he is. He may
Right.
decide, like
Right.
with us, he may decide to move where you are, like with
Hmm.
Christina. He
Yeah.
decided to move where she was. Even with Deborah,
Hmm.
Elder David decided to move
Yep.
into your apartment.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always, it doesn't, it's not ever cookie cutter.
That's
no,
right.
it's not. It's not.
So don't let anybody else make that decision for you.
Yeah,
Let that be a discussion between you
yeah.
and your to be husband, where what is the best thing for our family.
True.
Right.
Um,
True.
because sometimes it doesn't look like what other people think.
Yeah. Now,
Mhm.
my husband, he lived in New York. You know, he was born and raised, in here in North Carolina.
Hmm.
He moved to New York, for better employment and,
Hmm.
and living and so forth.
Hmm.
Um, as well as, we both had careers there in
Mm,
New York, but also making decisions of even after retirement. I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
people don't think about that. Or
absolutely.
even, now, the times that we're living in now,
Hmm.
people do a lot of they work from home.
Yep.
So they
Absolutely.
can literally move
Yep.
anywhere in the world.
Live anywhere.
Anywhere in
Right.
the world. And so also, where you're not mandatory to live in a particular location now,
Right.
because
Right.
a lot
Yep.
of people, work, online or however way. And
Mm-hmm.
so in that aspect, then I feel that you need to discuss, because some always want to stay. Like one thing with my husband, though he lived in New York, he always desired to come back south. That was always his desire. He never really liked New York,
Okay.
like the
Okay.
city. He
Uh-huh.
always desired to go back, but you do what you have to do.
Right.
But
Right.
then, like I said, then now you have people where, they can move remote. Because they remote,
Sure.
they work remotely,
Yep.
so they
Right.
can live anywhere. So these are some other things that you have to discuss, because
True.
you have some who love city life,
Yep.
Yeah.
some
Yes.
who love
Like,
more
right.
rural or more suburban
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
Have that option to do that.
Yeah.
I've seen
Correct.
couples, even before, like after they marry, there are issues because they don't want to live in, so there's that it hadn't been discussed or come to any agreement really of
Right.
where we're going to really live to raise a family. Or even if you don't, some people don't want families,
Right.
these are all things that needs to be discussed. But like I said, the dynamics is so different now than
Yeah.
it was at a time,
Absolutely.
now, like
Right.
I said, there are people who are moving internationally,
Yeah.
That's right.
in other
That's right.
countries, and they can do so because their livelihood can afford that, where they can live
Yep.
anywhere.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
these are
Yeah, we
things
have.
that need to be discussed prior to marriage, and because you want to, because some people really hate city life,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
and the
That's true.
other one may, this is all they want. And
Right.
so you want to be in a marriage where one is kind of miserable in a sense, because you just have, or even in traveling,
Yeah.
Right.
willing to
Right.
travel, because some couples,
Right.
they marry and one, they don't want to go anywhere, and the other one,
Doesn't want to try.
just like,
Right.
my spouse don't want to go anywhere, I want to go
Right.
here, and he doesn't. So
Right.
they're unhappy in a sense, they
You're
just
right.
settle. But it shouldn't
Yes.
be where you just settle. You should have a
Right.
way where you both work together, where you want, where both are happy in one way. There,
Correct.
having a medium where
Mm-hmm.
Right.
all of these things have to be discussed. All of these things
Correct. A-
should be discussed prior to marriage. Because
Absolutely.
if it's not, you can become very, and
Yeah.
Miserable.
miserable. Some,
Mm-hmm.
I know friends, they want to travel, go on vacations, and then the other, no, they want to do is work and do nothing. And yeah,
Right.
you can go with your friends, but you want your
Right.
spouse to
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
and I've seen,
Right.
and and though they settle, they're just not happy.
I
And
know. I was talking to a lady. I was at the nail salon, and I don't know how we just was started talking. Maybe because I come in there, my nail tech always says, "Madam Avia, I am so happy when you come because you always drum up conversation and begin talking. It's really interesting here in Ghana because they don't like talk. Well, I guess they may talk amongst each other, but
Mm-hmm.
you know how in the salon we sit down and we
Yeah.
start talking, and everybody is just talking all together. We're kind of like that. So she says, "You bring such a great conversation to the
yes,
salon when you come because people just like it because you're just talking and
Yeah.
talking and so this woman started talking to me, and she said that her and her husband are both Ghanaian and born and raised, but they got married, got degrees, moved to the United States. I believe finished education there, and that's what happens to a lot. They get that go there and get their MBA or their doctorate or whatever, and they end up getting really good jobs, and they were living over there. And so she said, "I hate Ghana." I mean, I just looked at her
Wow.
Ghanaian that said, I hate Ghana. She said, I don't want to live here. She said, the only reason I'm here is because of my husband. She
Wow.
said, he wanted to move back to be close to family. She said, so when I want to get out of here, girl, I just get on a plane and I go wherever I want to go. And that's
And that's what they do. Yes.
And that's what she said. She said if he wants to go, he's more than welcome to go. She said, but I'm not gonna sit here and just sit. She said, I just get up and I go. So she said, so I've traveled all over the world. She said, and because
Wow.
goer, I'm a goer. She said, and I have children and grandchildren back in the United States. She said, so I'll go over there and hang out for a little while. And she said, but he is just as happy as a peach sitting over here. Because he's back home. And that's where he feels like
Yeah.
he wanted
Yeah.
to come back home. But
Yeah.
she was like, yeah, I'm okay. Um, and so she says she just gets out and travels wherever, she wants to go. So that is definitely
Mhm.
a discussion. We
Yeah.
know that sometimes just in the grand workings of things, it's like I was watching the show Fiddler on the Roof. That's one of my
Yes.
favorite
Yes.
movies.
Yes.
Fiddler on the and Revatavia said one time he looked up to the heavens and he said, God, I know we are your chosen people, but could you sometimes choose someone else? And as I was sitting there, I was laughing because I'm thinking to myself, yeah, Father, you kind of choose me and my husband a lot.
Yeah.
And, oh, Father. So I just bust out laughing from him saying that. There may be a situation that when you are, like with us in ministry, we're doing ministry here in Ghana, and that it is very different, and it's a very, very different culture. Um, and it's something that you have to, get used to. And but the travel part of it is wonderful. So we've just pretty much promised ourselves that what we would do as we are in ministry, it doesn't stop you from
That's
being able to
that's
get out
yeah.
and to make that time for yourself. Because
Yeah.
guess what? Your first ministry is to your wife.
Yeah.
That's
Your first ministry is
to
to
your
your husband.
right. That's
So
right. That's right.
you and Father, the Most High, is not going to be mad at you because you miss a service to go on vacation.
Right.
You can keep the Sabbath wherever you
Right.
go.
That's
Yeah.
You can worship the Most High wherever you go. You can do that. When
Yes.
we were in Egypt, we sat down and went to a restaurant and sat down. We didn't eat anything because we had already, we were already had our meal that was free at the hotel. And we said, let's just go do a Let's Talk Torah on Shabbat
yeah.
at a nice picturesque, restaurant. And that's what we did.
Mhm.
So we celebrated the Sabbath right there, sitting in Egypt. So you can worship the Most High wherever you go, even if you are in ministry.
Right.
That sometimes and that's another thing to think about. Those young ladies or women who are in ministry, or you find yourself in a relationship with a man who is a minister or is becoming in that pastoral track, that you make that promise to each other that you are going to make sure that you maintenance your marriage and that you work on keeping your marriage strong,
Mhm.
because that will make the Most High happy with you,
Yes.
because you can't minister to anybody else
If
when
you're
you're going through at home
that's right.
just struggling and
That's right.
unhappy and
That's right.
just
That's right.
dealing with all kind of issues, and then you going out there trying to work on somebody else's house when your house is broken
Yes.
in
That's
in
right.
an uproar. So make that
That's a fact.
decision and talk about that. If your to be is in that ministry track, if you see him headed that way, you need to be having that conversation. Hey, let's talk about
Right.
you become take on a an assembly, a ministry, and because that's work,
Mhm.
but you can do it
Yep.
because we you can do it,
Yep.
but you've
Right.
got to understand and position yourself in a place where father is okay with you taking a vacation.
Yeah.
He's okay with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And
No,
to go
I agree with that.
and to travel and have it. And that's what we promised each other. After Sukkot, that's our time. We're going to get out of here. We're going to go see all 54 of these countries
I know
over
that's
here on this
right.
beautiful continent. And then we're going to start heading out to some other places and
Yeah.
seeing, Holland and Netherlands up
Yeah.
there in wherever, Iceland. I don't care. The Alaskan cruise. I mean, just see this big, beautiful world
Yeah.
that Father has given to us. That's one reason that you work so hard.
Hmm.
When we worked really hard.
Yep.
Yes, yes,
Yep.
yes. I agree totally. Yes.
Yeah. And I wonder if it's to those that, because it's different now. I know a lot of people that I know personally, they're not getting married to 40 and they actually start their families that late.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even it's even becoming more popular to get married 50, 60, 70. Like people
Yeah.
are getting their into their first marriages and they wait, and it seems like it's better for them, like watching older women getting married. And even watching older black women, I know a lot of little Hebrews watching this, but they have never thought about marrying outside of their race and how they have matured. And they like, I never thought about marrying a white man, but they end up marrying outside of their race and they're
Hmm.
actually happy. And we're talking about
Happy.
40, 50, 60 and
Hmm.
up. So even if you haven't been married, you
Hmm.
can get married, especially now they're getting married. And I think you know what you want more
Right.
uh,
Right.
as you get older. So you don't count
Hmm.
yourself out while we're talking about marriage, because getting married older is a thing now. And they
Absolutely.
happy. They happy.
Right.
That's
That's
true.
a
I
good
see
thing.
that quite a bit now. Yeah.
That's a
Older
good thing.
people.
And I don't see, I mean, people may talk negative about it now. What I see over here, I see a lot of elderly men moving over here, retired, and marrying these little
Yeah.
Ghanaian
Yeah.
young ladies. They like 25 and 30 years old.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to figure that out because I'm like, you like 70, sir.
Well,
I mean,
they just,
and I'm not saying that
yeah.
you can't fall, a 70-year-old can't fall in love with a 35-year-old.
Yeah.
I say whatever floats your boat.
But I'm not saying that.
But
It
you
just
got you got you
it
got
just
some women, they call them cougars. They marry these young.
that's
Yeah.
true. I was gonna say that. And we see those over here too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Elderly women, and they will have little 35-year-old man, 40-year-old man on their arm, yeah, chilling out. And I'm like, well, sister, okay. I
I don't know. The older they like, life too short. I don't know what they be thinking, but they going
I
forward.
guess that's true, 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 true. And then thinking about having someone as you do
Yeah.
age.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's beautiful when always think about Gladys Knight. She's still such a beautiful
Hmm.
Really is.
woman,
Yeah.
but her husband is what, about 30 years younger than her,
Oh,
something like that.
really?
Know that really?
What?
Yeah, like 30, 35 years, and he loves that sister.
Wow.
But let me tell you, sister has taken care of herself.
Yeah.
She looks really, really good to be
Yeah.
70. I think she's like 75 or something like that. And
Wow.
he's like 30 years younger than her.
Wow.
30 or
I think
35.
she's older than that.
What?
You think she's older than that? Is
Mhm.
she older than
I
75?
think, yeah, I think her and Patti LaBelle are the same age. They're close to 80, or if not.
80.
What?
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Woo.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, but he's only
But
maybe about
she
40.
really did a transformation some years ago because she had gotten heavier. Watch,
Yes,
be a
she sure
transformation
did.
too. But anyway, in her old age, and she really, I'm telling you, she looks
Wow.
phenomenal.
Phenomenal. You're talking
Absolutely.
about Patti LaBelle.
No, I'm talking about Gladys Knight.
Gladys Knight. Oh my gosh. She
Yeah.
looks
Yeah,
that
because I remember she had
I'm
she
like,
she had gotten
yes.
significantly heavier. I remember David and I, we went to Las Vegas.
Hmm.
Um that was one of our, like a honeymoon thing for us. It was really wonderful. And we went to her show. This is some years this is back
Hmm.
in when was it? 2003 actually.
Hmm.
And she gave a phenomenal show. I mean, it was absolutely wonderful. And her brother, it was her and her brother, and they had backup singers, and it was just an excellent show. They did, some of
Hmm.
her old songs, and then she did a lot of gospel. It was just
Hmm.
a phenomenal show. But she was significantly heavier,
Oh,
She wasn't like
mhm.
real, real heavy, but she was heavier. But the transformation she did within
She's
years
blessed.
later, and now, man, she looks fabulous.
I
Mhm.
And
know. I
this is
saw
what we're
her.
seeing now.
Mhm.
Women are really, I'm not going to take away from the men because we're talking about women
Yeah.
for the most part now.
Right.
I'm seeing women now
Mhm.
in their 70s, 80s,
Looking
even
good.
90s, looking. Let me tell you something. These women ain't like back in
No.
Like,
the day.
I know, like they 40,
Not,
50, 40 years
not.
old.
Yep.
I mean, really, I mean, healthy wise and every which way.
Absolutely.
And they are
Absolutely.
really, really looking good and taking care
Absolutely.
of themselves. Because
Taking
I
care
think
of them.
now we're living now where now is starting to be more of a health conscious,
Yes.
going
Yes.
back to natural
Yes. Right.
things, and which is a wonderful thing. So it's really no excuse. Really, we can really, even
Yeah.
though all the things is in the water, this and that and
Right.
everything else, but there
Oh,
are
that.
things now that we can really, and I'm seeing it. you know I mean, Shaka Khan, at a time, she was much heavier. She looks phenomenal.
Is she
I
good?
mean, you know,
Yes.
but I'm just saying, for just in women in general, as they're older now, are
Hmm.
really taking control of their lives,
Yes.
Hmm.
really changing the of what we used to see.
Right.
Now you see, I'm telling you, phenomenal, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
listen, she might have somebody 30 years younger, but listen, he might not even be able to,
To
you
keep
know,
up with her.
just
How about
saying,
that?
just
That's
saying.
funny.
Because
That's
some
funny.
people
But the
think that
thing of
you
it
get a
is,
certain age, and it may have been at one
Yeah.
time, like
that's
you
true.
count it out. No, 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 not
That's true. That's true. But you know what? They look so wonderful together. Um, I was just like, my sister, my hat is off to you because she is beautiful and she still has those lungs. I can't even sing like I
yes,
used to
you
sing
do.
when I was 25 years old. You
Yes,
know what I'm
you
saying?
do.
Because I guess all this teaching and preaching, preachy teaching has taken a toll on my voice. But she is just really, and Patti LaBelle too. Patti
Yeah.
Yes,
LaBelle, I
too.
love. I mean, they are just phenomenal women, and just to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
in the positions that they are, and to have seen that much and done that much life. I'm telling you,
yeah,
Cicely
yeah.
Tyson before she passed away. That
One,
lady didn't look like she was no. What was she
Right.
like? 100?
100, about 100, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that lady didn't
And
look
you
like
know
she
what?
was no 100 years
Yeah.
old.
And you know what I'm also seeing, because people are taking their health back and changing diets and eliminating different things out, even their health issues, some who have suffered with different, like diabetes and different
Right,
things, have
right.
reversed. These things have reversed.
Mhm,
They don't even have any health issues.
Right.
A lot of them
mhm.
now who are turning, because they're coming up, more people are more aware. And I mean,
Mhm.
I wish it was so much with a lot of people that, I'm not taking all of this pharmaceutical thing, because it's not curing. It's just, and a lot of times it
It's
makes it
allowing you to live
worse.
sick,
So
Yeah.
they're going into the more, you know, um, the natural, healthy,
holistic.
holistic way of
Yeah,
doing.
yeah,
And a lot of these conditions and even things that they say is irreversible is being reversed, and
Yeah.
they're not
I
dealing
mean that, and
these
you've
things.
got to, and it's really important for us to do that. And I always say the earlier you learn it, the better.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're a younger woman, um, once you start making these really good habits, good eating habits, people don't realize how just a 20-minute walk. I mean, 20 minutes walk every day that you do, how much that can help your
That's true.
body, help
Yeah.
your
That's
digestive system, help you to
true.
digest your food
True.
properly,
True.
eating the right kinds of foods, having a very colorful
Yes.
diet.
True.
Um, all of these things can help. Drink, just drinking water. My father,
Drinking water.
drinking water. People don't realize drinking a good enough water every day, getting enough sleep, more than 7 hours of sleep. You every day. You just don't know what that can do for you.
Yeah.
That we've been in such a society that's just so microwaved and
Right.
that's just run, 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 hurry, 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 that we don't take the time to care for ourselves.
That's
And
true.
that's really important. And once if we start young, and that's one thing I'm grateful that I that was impressed upon me as a young woman, getting married. I remember me and a friend of mine, and she is such a good dear friend, and she has since passed on, and transitioned. And I remember Donna and I sitting down in the bottom of the church, just having one of our conversations, and we saw somebody walk by, and we looked at each other like, was that so and so? I don't remember the young lady, but we both knew she had gotten married like a year or two before, and we're looking at her like, what happened? Like
Yeah.
you want to go up to them and say, girl, do we need to sit down and talk? Are you okay?
Yeah.
It's, that we forget about
Yep.
ourselves.
That's true.
And that's one of the topics we need to talk
Yep.
about.
Because
Self-care,
you're a perfect
Yep.
example. If you
taking care of
know,
yourself.
Avia, look at you right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You look at people, you're our age. Look at you.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Now go back years ago.
Hmm.
People who are our age, women our age, did not look like you.
That's right.
You are a perfect picture of what it looks like. You can look wonderful no matter what age. So,
That's
What
right.
age?
and this is why even there are those who are waiting later, they're getting married and they're having,
Yep.
because
That's true.
they're living vibrant lives that
Yes.
have
Right.
not always been years ago.
Yes. Yes.
True.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take but for you to care about yourself.
That's
And
right.
I remember me and Donna looking at each other and saying, when we get married, because James and I weren't married yet. So we were sitting there talking, and we looked at each other and we said, when we get married, we are not going to be that. We're
Right.
not going to do that. So a lot of times what happens, we let ourselves go.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else becomes more important
Yep.
than me. So now I've let myself go. Then I begin to start doing, picking up habits that I didn't have when I was younger or when I cared about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so, so very important to have that healthiness, that healthy diet, that
Mm-hmm.
healthy lifestyle, that and outlook, and know that you're important and that you deserve to look like something.
Yep.
I just don't want to. I mean, my mother was like, "What color you got in your hair today?" That's my friend. She said, "What color you got in your hair?" She said, "So you ain't letting that white hair come through." I said, "Nope." I said, "Not yet. I'm just not ready. Not yet." I said, "Soon. I don't know when that's gonna be." I said,
Whenever, but that's
I
your
used to
decision.
say,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
used to say that when my husband's hair turns gray, then mine will. Mine will too. We're gonna turn gray together. Until his hair don't turn gray, mine ain't gonna be turning gray either. So y'all, everybody who don't like it, can get over it. So she was like, "That hair probably white underneath there." I said, "Well, if it is, it's gonna stay underneath this color
I
until I say."
I feel you.
So, but it's
Till you
okay.
say so. That's right. Your
And that's the
choice.
thing. To thine own self be true. It's okay.
It's
Mm-hmm.
Don't
okay.
allow anybody else to say anything concerning. I have a sister who's 10 years younger than me, and her gray is coming in. Missy's hair is so pretty. It's just grayed. It
Yeah.
just grayed from the front and started graying back. Mine is just all straggly
Well,
on.
that's
I ain't fooling with that. I ain't fooling with that.
right.
Color,
Be
color.
yellow. Like, why is it yellow gray? Nah, some
Why?
people can wear it like Prophetess hair is banging. Mine's ain't.
And it's so pretty. Look at her
Mine's
go.
is
What
not banging like
do you mean?
that.
Mine
Yeah,
don't look like that. Mine ugly. I said, we can fix this. I'm fixing this. I'm not.
for real.
So when it turned white,
Oh,
then it's
yes.
softening.
Yeah.
But
And you know what? I've seen some and I ain't gonna call their name, but it was a young man posting. They want the talk about the elders. We want you to look like elders again. I was like, you don't read your Bible, do you? Cause Sarah had it going on, honey. And how old was she when they were still checking for her? So don't sit down
absolutely.
somewhere
Yes,
Mother was about
absolutely.
75
saying
years old.
stupid stuff because you want us to look like the 1930s grandma. They
And
survived
who is he?
slavery. I ain't
Who
gonna
is he?
he a little Hebrew
Who
look.
is he?
Look.
He is no one.
And I was like, that is so stupid. Your
No one.
grandma, your great grandma
Sir,
survived slavery, honey. They was
sir,
in survival mode. We are not.
sir. No one. Because when I get to North Carolina, you know what my big thing is going to be? Putting on donut on my sneakers and my running clothes and
Yeah,
getting out to Salem Lake and making that 7 mile stretch.
yeah. I can
Absolutely.
see right. I
That's
I
what
cannot
I'm
keep up with
cannot,
her. I cannot keep up.
I cannot wait. So, sir, if you want me to look like I'm 67, yes, I just turned 67.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't care what people have to say. And I'm sure people have a whole lot to say. I don't
Mhm.
care. I don't care what
I
people have
hate
to say.
that. Like, why do we have to
And look
look
like
like
elders
that?
again.
I don't
He's saying
get it.
that until he become one.
That's what I'm saying with this little young
Hello,
fella.
hello.
Talk about what you know about, sir. You know what? Don't even get me started. Talk
Yeah.
about what you know about.
They want us to be a cooking and back breaking and hip hurting and all of that just to suffice their. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is with the community.
Boy, meet me out at Salem Lake, and I want to see
Right.
you do that 7 miles with me. whatever,
I
Ain't
know
happy.
that's right.
whatever. Don't. Those are haters. They are haters because my thing is, and I always bring. I'm glad you brought up Sarah because I always bring up that point. What does Sarah look like? My
Mhm.
What?
goodness, she was about 65, 70 years old,
Yeah,
and I'm like, she couldn't have been just looking like she was out in the field picking
No,
potatoes
she
no.
with a
wasn't.
king.
Trying
She
to, trying.
wasn't.
That's right.
She wasn't. Mm.
She was beautiful,
Absolutely.
even at that age, at a senior age. And you're gonna say you want your elders to look. Who? Okay,
Go sit down.
take several seats. You can look like an old man if you want to. Go
And
right
that's the
ahead.
thing. Some of them look older
You
than
can be an
us
elder. Go be an elder.
in their
Go
20s
dye
and
your hair
30s.
gray and white and be an elder.
So
It's
silly.
okay. Because the thing of it is, it doesn't make us any less
Right.
elders.
Right.
No,
We
it doesn't.
still have the wisdom
That's
The
right.
experience and
and
everything.
experience. But it seems to me that you would be more appreciative that you had elders who were taking care of themselves,
Right.
that they
Absolutely.
didn't look like elders.
Right.
Now, I appreciate those people that come up to me and say, my goodness, Rabbis, yeah, you look wonderful. Praise Father Yah. Thank you. Father is good.
Yes.
Because because I run or exercise, it's people run and exercise and they look like a Mack truck hit them. So I know that that's not it. It's by the grace of the Most High.
Yeah, it is.
So how
You're right.
dare
You're
you
right.
make a mockery of
Yep.
the grace and the anointing of
Yeah.
the Most High
Yeah.
on my life and on my sister's life or brothers who my
Yeah.
husband.
Yeah.
Somebody thought that they thought that my husband was Calvin, our son. And
Hmm.
they were like, wait a minute, you're over in Winston-Salem. I mean, and she was like looking at him like, that's your son? I
Hmm.
mean, and we were laughing about it. I was like, y'all don't look how. And then the next question is,
So
how
how old are
old are
you?
you?
So how old are you? Yep. Yep. Yep.
But that's a blessing.
Yes, it
It
is.
is a blessing.
Youthfulness
Yeah.
is a
It is a
blessing. Why
blessing.
would you make a mockery
Why
of
would
the youthfulness that Father has placed
That's true.
on
That's true.
his elders? I
Right.
mm,
That's
I don't
right.
know.
And that's a good way. Next time they say that, that's a very good way to put that. Because some people do
Mhm.
exercise and they don't. They just look how they look. But
They
some people
look
really have
right.
that anointing on their life where they stay
That's
youthful
right.
for a long
Stay
time.
youthful. Yeah.
What are you gonna say about that? I'm trying to find me. I've been trying to find me some stairs to run over
Oh
here, but
wow.
these people make these stairs. I'm scared to run them
Oh
because
yeah, they
they
uneven.
make them stairs 2 inches, 5 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. Child, you be done broke your neck trying to run up and down them stairs. I
Yeah.
said I'm gonna wait and see if I can get my daughter's pass key and go run Baptist Hospital. I used to love to run those stairs, the stairwell.
Wow.
Wow.
But
Wow.
it's that's just something. Exercise has always been part of my life.
Yes. Yes.
So I just kept and didn't stop.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's what I suggest for anyone.
That's
Even a 20 minute walk every day.
day.
Just even when you're washing dishes or doing something, get up and start
Moving.
walking,
Yeah.
moving. Your
Moving.
body needs
Gotta
to
move.
move
Yeah. Yeah.
because as you get older, your muscles begin to lose their strength. So it's important that you do that. And since we're talking about marriage and getting prepared for marriage, sister, don't just lose weight to get into the wedding dress.
Right.
That's right.
lose
That's right.
lose weight, not just lose weight. Because not all of us were meant to be a size
Right.
2 or a
Right.
That's
size 4 or a size
right.
8 or a size 12.
Right.
Right.
Some of us are just as beautiful as we can be at a
Yes.
size 20 or a
Yeah.
size 24. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whatever your ideal weight is, don't lose weight to get in shape just for that day.
Right.
Get in shape for the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life. That's true. That's true.
Because the once you start working out and your body gets used to it, if you're just going to have children after you get married, it's important that you are already exercising. To
Right.
begin to exercise when you get pregnant is not the time. You can't do that then. But
Right.
whatever you were doing before you got pregnant, I know women who were pregnant and running half marathons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Six,
Yeah.
7 months pregnant,
Yeah.
running half marathon, running 5Ks
Right.
with
Right.
that baby bump out there. 6 months
Right.
pregnant.
Right.
That's because their body is
Yeah.
used to
Yeah.
exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, if you start now, when you decide before you make that decision to get married, you'll see that that will also help you
Hmm.
because exercise is a great stress reliever.
Yes.
It really
When
is.
I stressed, I'm telling you, and it's probably not good. Calvin told me the other night. He said, because I said, I find myself not going to sleep at night. And he's like, well, Ma, when you try to do it, when you do a workout like 10, 11 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
you're probably not going to go to sleep. But I don't
Yeah.
have any place to go the next day. So I
Right.
can sleep to 12 or 12
Right.
o'clock in the
Right.
afternoon if I want to. But if I feel, that level of stress, come up on me. Yeah. I put on my workout stuff. I will turn on a walk at home on YouTube. That is a great YouTube channel, Walk at Home. And
Hmm.
you can do 5 miles, you can do 2 miles, you can do 3 miles, you can do 1 mile. And just get out and start doing it. And they're easy steps that anybody can do it. It is patterned, helps tailored for anyone to be able to do it. And you can do it at your own,
True. Yeah.
but you need to work out not for that wedding dress or wedding
It's for
day,
life.
but
It
work
is.
out for life
Yeah.
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 because it's about life.
It is about life. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Definitely so. And once you start having children, you'll appreciate it
Hmm.
because I'm telling you, pop them babies right on out.
Yeah.
If you,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, you will not have a problem
Yeah.
having children
You know,
if
and
you
just so happen
are.
you said that, and I should know because I used to run and do everything, but I'm gonna give,
Yeah,
sometimes
you swim too.
a lot of
Yeah.
times injuries kind of give you setbacks, but that's still not an excuse. But going back years ago, like when I had Sherrod, prior to him, I was running 3-5 miles a day and just working out and just doing all kind of things, even while I was pregnant. And
Hmm.
even after having him, um, I had wound up having a C-section. But after that, 2 weeks after I had him, nobody believed I even had a child. My stomach was flat as a board.
I
That's
believe it.
when you work out and you're doing things. A lot of times after you go, because your body is still in that, it goes right back.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
does.
It
yeah,
does.
It really does. And that's what people don't get and understanding that too. And also what we're not told when you breastfeed that
yeah.
you
Breastfeeding helps to bring.
yeah,
That's right.
helps
Yep.
for you to
That's right.
lose that
Lose
weight
that weight.
also
Yeah, it does.
because it's very natural. That's what we're supposed
Yeah,
to do.
Yeah.
That's very natural.
absolutely
Now, not everybody can breastfeed. So I'm not
true.
saying that you should
Right.
do it
True.
if you realize that you cannot.
Right.
But
Right.
it's good to
Mhm.
do it because it does help to keep your weight,
That's
you
right.
know, in balance. And
Yep.
as you get older, there's a book that a gentleman, he's a doctor, wrote, and it's called Eat Your Age. There are certain things, vitamins that we need at certain levels of our ages that will help our body to retain its youthfulness, muscle mass, the whole 9 yards. Because what I'm finding out at that I really had to add weight training into my exercise. So I was a big runner, and dance. You know, y'all know I
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
Hebrew dance, which is really a good exercise too. Whew. But I had to add weight training into it
Yes.
because now I'm noticing those muscles don't look as strong
Yeah.
as they used to. So you have to add that weight onto it. Also, that helps you to lose weight and to maintain your weight, especially around the midsection. That
Yes.
just doesn't look the same as it did, when you were 30.
Right.
That it just don't, it stops looking like that. So you really have to work at keeping that. And I don't care. I just continue to work out. I don't care what it looks like or seems to not look like. I
Mhm.
just continue. I just don't allow anything to deter me from doing that workout for my body and for my health.
Yeah.
Every day, at least 4 to 5 times. That's my workout regimen, 4 to 5 times a week.
Yeah.
So
Great job. That's
it's
great.
it's important, but not to just do it. We do that for our wedding day, and then
Right.
after the wedding day, we go back to just and coming home, sitting on the couch
Right.
afterward. Oh no, we gotta, and then we looking at our husband when he looking at us like, you know, 6 months later, like you done gained about 30 pounds. What's going on?
Yeah.
So we need to really be cognizant and that we don't do it for him, but that we do it for
For
us.
yourself.
Because for you, period. It's
That's
for
right.
you.
That's
That's
right.
And start it young. Start young
Yes.
because it's
Yes.
going to
and
Yes.
if you're not young, start wherever you at.
start with
Come
it.
on.
Start.
Right.
Just
Start.
get
That's
started.
it. Start.
Look,
Get started.
I'm sitting here, and people think because I'm a small woman, I'm
I
healthy now.
take heed to all what you said, Rabbit.
Yeah.
Now you got me rearing. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like
Whatever age you are,
I'm telling
start.
you, you
Don't
gotta
Start.
worry
start.
about if you're not young, start.
Absolutely.
You have to.
Do it.
Yeah. Because even though I know when I turned 50, all of what I used to athletically, just naturally athletic, when I woke up, I promise you, when I turned 50 and woke up, I was like, why am I stiff? And
See?
I cannot
Yes, ma'am.
understand how that shift happened just because I changed over to this decade. And I'm sitting here
Mhm.
right now. My leg muscles is tight. When I get up, I'm going to be stiff. And I
Mhm.
know what you're saying is right. But for some of us who've been small all of our life, and we're naturally
Mhm.
athletic. And
Mhm.
so you don't have
Mhm.
to do much to stay, loose or limber.
Mhm.
Um, it's just like a mind thing. Like, I'm like, I
Mhm.
really do
Mhm.
gotta exercise. It doesn't matter if you're
Absolutely.
small.
Doesn't matter.
You
Absolutely.
need to
It doesn't.
exercise.
Because it's about health. And even as you get older, when you hit 40, 45, you really need to be structuring yourself. If you haven't, you need to be really restructuring and thinking about when
Yeah.
you turn 50 and 60. Because even as I exercise, I'm still, now there was a time I remember 12, 15 years ago not getting waking up and being like, woo, let me get on out here.
Yeah.
But I can tell the difference now. I can tell the difference in when I
Yes.
grab those weights and start lifting those weights and the feelings in my wrist and stuff where, I didn't have that before. So I do more stretching.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, just get down. If you could do a split, split. I mean, stretch those leg muscles, make them, and what we don't realize too, bend over as much as much as you can. If you can if you touched your knees, your head to your knees at one time, be trying to do that. I mean, stretch as much
Which
as you
is so
can in
important.
the morning when you get up, in the evening before you go to bed. It is definitely going to make a difference because all of these muscles that you're using, and even now, as active as I am, I will find myself sometimes having to, your balance.
Mhm.
That's just something that just comes with age.
And
So
that's
you
why
have to
yeah.
there, absolutely.
You
So
have to
you have to you practice on your balancing and lifting one leg up, and you may have to hold on to the wall,
right.
lifting one leg up and
Right.
just stretching that leg out behind you, your foot to your behind, and just stretching out as much as you can, trying to keep your balance, trying to stand up on one foot,
Yeah.
trying to, I'll do that a lot in the shower. I'll practice on balancing movements, because your balance gets off as you get older. Your eyesight, especially if your eyesight is going a little wacky, where I'm having, I was diagnosed, with glaucoma from my grandfather and my
Right.
father.
Right.
So I have to use those little drops in my eyes. But I noticed that has something to do with my balance
Yeah.
too. So all of those things, you are doing it being health conscious. But I'm telling you, that water, I cannot explain how important that water is. I can't. And people say, well, I drink a lot of juices. No, ma'am.
Yeah.
No, ma'am. No, sir. You need to be
Water.
drinking water. You should be drinking half your body weight in water.
Water. That's true.
And if you want to lose weight, you start drinking water like that, add a
You'll
little
come
bit
right
of
off. Yeah.
apple cider vinegar or something,
Mm-hmm.
and in the morning to get your stomach, moving, digestive system moving right, man, yeah, you will be surprised how you will take that weight off. And that's even for in preparation of, you know, doing those wedding plans, getting married, going, if you want to do a wedding, a destination wedding, that's
Oh,
big
yeah. Yeah.
now.
That's a big
Prepare
Yeah.
yourself for that. And as you prepare yourself for that, think about it, not just preparing for marriage, but preparing for life.
Yes.
Because you want to be able to do what you need to do for the health and wellness of yourself and for your family.
Hmm.
So it's really, really important to do that. And you're right, Deborah. Start now. I mean, if you're 60 and you ain't never worked out, start walking.
start walking.
Start walking.
It's
Just get
just
out there.
20 minutes. That's it. Yeah.
Get out there and walk. Buy yourself one of those little watches that keeps up with your walk. If you have an iPhone, your iPhone has a app on it
Hmm.
where it will keep up with your heart rate and the number of steps that you
Hmm.
take.
Exactly.
Doing, you give yourself a goal where this is my goal for my steps. And so I gave myself a goal of 8,000 steps a day. So
Mm-hmm.
I just make sure that I get those 8,000 steps. But I think I've gotten a little bit crazy with them, because now it'll be like 11:30 and I have 1,000, I'm 2,000 steps to go.
Oh,
And so
wow.
I'll go and I'll start, jogging in place to get my all of my steps in by 12 midnight. But you can do it. You give your set a goal
That's
and do it,
it's
because it's for you, and
that's
it's going to be healthy for you, and not only for you,
yeah.
for your husband,
Yeah.
for your image, and it's good to feel good
That's
about
right. It feels
and
good
have,
to just feel good. That's right.
it really does. It feels good to do that. So let's see. So we've gone over the different types
Yeah.
of weddings. And I brought in that one destination wedding. If you want to, spend, that type, if you have that money to spend, absolutely go for it. Um, that's nice
Hmm.
to do that. Um, but I think the bottom line to what we've all said is do what you want to do.
Right.
So if you don't want to do all of that, you might want to be Elder David and
Yep.
Deborah, where you go to the justice of the peace, stand in front of a magistrate, get your two witnesses, and say, "Hey, we do. Okay, we done.
Right. Right.
It's finished."
Right. Right.
I don't suggest you go to choir rehearsal
I
afterwards.
know.
That was good. And I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that Elder David didn't say,
I know. Right. Just say,
No, he was all right with it.
what?
I'm going that sounds like something my husband would do. I'm going to play for this church. And I'll be right back. What?
No.
Well, I'm going with you. And after that, we going somewhere else.
Right. Right.
Because I done
Right.
already booked. I know me. I've already booked a hotel room at so-and-so. So after that church service, we out of there.
Woo.
Well,
But that's all right.
Yes.
I'm just busting your
I sure
chops.
did though. I went.
Oh my goodness, you're just such a wonderful person.
Right.
You know how wonderful, but I'll take it.
Oh.
So wonderful. Mm. So I think it's just important to be mindful of those things.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, you're always free to reach out to us, email us, and we will be more than happy to, answer your question. Or, if you even want to counsel a little further on this topic and you're getting married, even to, I'm going to tell you, ladies, if you are planning a wedding for more than 50 people, get a wedding planner. Do not try to do all of that yourself.
Right.
Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to yourself. That's a lie.
Yep.
Get a wedding planner. Let the wedding planner do it. And a lot of times, we know people who are right there around us that are able to plan a wedding and really do a really good job at it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
It's true. It's true.
All right.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
we're not gonna talk about the topic for next week, huh? We gotta decide. We still deciding.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we have, yes, we have a couple of for topics. Yeah, we have to decide. So let's just let's just leave it open. Maybe the care. I think maybe the first one,
Okay.
the board, taking care, caring for ourselves, because I think that
Actually, kind of started talking about that tonight.
Yeah, we
exactly.
did. Yeah, we did.
There you go.
That's just something to really go more in depth in.
Mm-hmm.
In
It's so
depth. Yeah,
important. Yeah. Yeah.
it is because we
Self-care is
first learned.
everything because you're
Yep.
you're no good to no one else if you don't do
Yes.
self-care. So I think
Yes.
that's an excellent thing to go into.
And that's very true. And we even find statistically that, and I'm going to save that for, I'm just going to say it really quick, and we'll save that whole topic for next week. But statistically, a lot of times the one who is giving the healthcare provider is the one that passes away before the person who they're taking care of.
It's true.
Because they tend to let themselves go
Yep.
and not take care of themselves
Yep.
because they are taking care of someone else. And when we become the nurturer of that family, that's a extremely
Right.
heavy burden.
Yeah.
And that's why it's sometimes easier to be a stay-at-home mom opposed to working and caring and nurturing, a family. But that's still up to the couple. So that's something that I just wanted to throw that out there.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes sense.
All righty. Y'all ready for me to end?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Our email again is the righteousview01 at gmail.com. Please send in topics that you feel will be beneficial. If you have a degree or you have a special training in a specific area related to women's health and you would like to be a special guest, please email us your bio and we will reply and review it as soon as we can.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes. If you have enjoyed the podcast so far, please tune in and tell a friend. Next week, we will, I guess, somewhat continue in the discussion of marriage, but we're going to go into self care. Am I right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so we're going to more so concentrate on self care and be prepared. And we ask that you just join in, and if you have questions or even input, don't be afraid, join us next week as we dive into that topic. And we hope that you enjoyed yourself and enjoyed this and join in with us. Again, tell a friend if you enjoyed it. Tell a friend and join in. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you put a comment out there in the chat that we didn't address, please email us and we'll be ready to absolutely able to reply to that as soon as we can. And next week, as we go into that topic, even if you desire to ask more questions concerning, you know, weddings and possibilities and things that or ideas or suggestions, please reach out to us and we will be more than happy to kind of quickly go into that even next week, because there's even things about picking out a wedding gown, taking people with you who you trust, who won't have you coming down the aisle looking like New Jack City.
Yeah.
Or ridiculous
Mhm.
Mary Poppins. I just you just sometimes you need to take a friend with you,
Yeah.
and a true friend. So
Right.
if you have those questions, let us know, and then we can kind of get into that and then go further into this self-care, because it's really really important for us to talk about that. But we want to thank you to all our viewers for tuning in, and we look forward to another edition of The Righteous View. Everyone have a great rest of your week, and we look forward to seeing you.
Yes.
Have a great week.